Today's lesson will be on how to use law of sines and law of cosines to solve equations that are not right triangles. We have the two different equations. We have sine of A over A equals sine B over B, which is sine C over C, which is law of sines. And we have law of cosines. There's actually three different versions of law of cosines, but they basically all fit this same pattern. Notice how this is side A and this is angle A. If you have angle A or you're looking for angle A, you would put that with cosine. That means side A is going to go on the other side of the equation. The other two sides, B and C, are going to be squared minus 2bc cosine A. And they all follow that same pattern. We'll talk about that when we get to some examples. Law of sines is sine A over A, sine B over B, sine C over C. You can also flip-flop that and make it A over sine A, B over sine B, C over sine C, because it's a proportion, and you can set up proportions lots of different ways. Angle of elevation and angle of depression. The big thing you need to remember about angle of elevation and angle of depression is they are both measured from a horizontal line. So they're going to be measured from this horizontal line right here. So from this horizontal line here and from this horizontal line here, depression goes down and elevation goes up. So there's angle of elevation, angle of depression. So let's look at where we would actually apply these. So what I want to do is I want to look at how to solve this triangle. In order to solve a triangle, what you're going to do is you're going to solve for all the missing parts. So I need to figure out this angle right here. I need to figure out this side length here, and we're going to call that angle or side C. We're going to call this side B. So whenever we're talking about sides, side B is always going to be opposite of angle B. Angle C and side C are opposites of each other. So there's side C, there's side B. This is angle C, angle A, angle B. So what you always want to do is you want to try to set up law of sines first. It's by far the easiest option. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up using law of sines if we can. So what I'm going to do is I like to put the side ratio on top. That's just how I learned how to do it. So it's 15 over sine of 92. There's 92. And equals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up and solve for the one that I can solve for. I have angle B, so that means I'm going to work with angle B. So this is going to be sine 28 over side B. Once we get that set up, then it's not too bad. What we do is we cross multiply and solve. So I'm going to cross multiply. This becomes 15 sine 28 equals B sine of 92. And then I'm going to solve for B, so I divide by sine of 92. Divide by sine of 92, and you get B equals, and you're going to have to use the calculator, so I'm going to pull the calculator up here, and I'm going to show you how what that looks like. So what we do is we clear out what's already in there. Make sure your calculator needs to be set in degrees, because we're working in degrees, so you would go into mode and work on that. So we would go to mode, change it to degrees. Mine's already set up in degrees, and so I can get out of there. So what we do is we hit 15 sine 28, close the parentheses, divided by sine of 92, and we hit enter, and we get B equals 7.05. 7.05. And we round to 2 decimal places. And the unit of measurement would be yards. Okay? So there's that one. Do the exact same process to find C. So how are we going to find C? Well, we're going to find C because we know that angle C is going to be 60 degrees because three angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. 180 minus 92 minus 28 is going to be 60. So what I can do is I set up 15 over sine 92 equals C over sine of 60. And again, I'm going to use the 15 and 92 again because those are numbers that were given to me. 705, we could use it, but it's rounded, and it's not going to be as accurate. So we want to use the numbers that we know for sure. Cross multiply and solve, I'm going to get 15 sine 60 equals C sine 92. Divide the sine to the other side. Divide the sine 90 to the other side. Use the calculator and type it in. And we're going to get 15 sine 60 divided by sine 92. Enter, and you get 12.998. 13 is good enough. C would equal 13. And that is everything I need to solve for. I found the two sides that I was looking for, and I found the angle that I was looking for. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to solve this one. Again, try to use law of sines. I have an angle, and I have the side opposite of that, so that's good. So I'm going to do 32 over sine 28. And I'm given this side over here, which would be side B, so that means I can figure out this angle first. I can't figure out the angles, all these angles, because I only given one, so I got to figure out side angle first. So this becomes 21 over sine B. So how do we go about doing that? Is we cross multiply again. So when I cross multiply, I'm going to get 32 sine B equals 21 sine 28. Now here's where we have to know how to deal with this. This sine B has to stay together, so you have to keep this together. You can divide by 32 on both sides. So you get this, so this becomes sine B equals 21 sine 28 over 32. Once you get that, then we have to know how to figure out angles. We have to use inverses. So in order to get B, we have to use the inverse of sine. So I'll show you how to work the calculator and make that happen. So what you have to do is you have to figure out what this decimal right here is, the 21 sine 28 over 32. So I'm going to type that in, 21 sine 28, close parentheses, divided by 32. I hit enter. And what that number is, that 0.308, what that is the ratio of sides. So what I do now is I hit second, sine, second, answer. So I converted this to a decimal. Now I'm trying to figure out what that angle is. So B is, what is that? I think it was 17.94. Let's look here. 17.94 is correct. So B is 17.94. Helps if I write 17 correctly. So B is 17.94. Okay? So if I know that that's 17.94, then I can figure out this angle right here, 180 minus those other two. 180 minus those other two. Let me get a calculator. I guess I can use this one. So it'd be 180. 180 minus those. So make sure I got 180 minus the answer, minus 28. And you get 134.06. So this angle would be 134.06. Angle A is 134.06. Once you have those, you can figure out the other side. You would do A over sine 134.06 equals side A using law of sines. I'll set it up for you, but I'm not going to go through and solve it. So what it would look like would be A over sine 134.06 equals 32 over sine 28. Cross multiply, solve, and you would get A. All right, let's look at this one here. I want to use law of cosines in this case, because in order to use law of sines, I have to have a side and an angle opposite of it. We don't have that, so we have to use law of sine or cosines. So what I want to do is I want to look at what that equation looks like. I'm given angle C. That means I'm going to make sure I have cosine of angle C, which means C squared is going to be on the other side. That means A squared plus B squared are going to be on this side minus 2AB cosine C, which is multiplication right there. Now what you do is you plug in the information. I don't know C squared, but I do know A squared, which would be 19 squared. I know B, which is 27 squared, minus 2 times 19 times 27 times cosine of 80 degrees. The left side or the right side of the equation has no variables. You can type that into the calculator and hit enter. So I'm going to get C squared equals some number. I'm going to use the calculator for that. So I'm going to clear out what's there. I'm going to do 19 squared plus 27 squared minus 2 times 19 times 27 cosine of 80. And I get 911.84. 911.84. Now, that's c squared. I don't want c squared, I want c. So what I do with the calculator is I square root that number. So I square root second negative sign, which is the entire answer, and I get 30.196 or 30.2. So c equals 30.2. Once I do law of cosines, I don't have to do it again. I can do law of sines now. So this right here is 30.2. Now I can set up law of cosines, and I'm going to show you how to set that up, but I'm not actually going to go through and do the cross multiplication. You guys can go through and look at that. So what it would look like would be 30.2 over sine of 80 equals 27 over sine of b, cross multiply, do the inverse, solve for your angles. Okay, so let's look at the next slide right here. I don't know an angle, so I got to pick which angle I want to work with. I always want to pick the smallest angle. So how do you know which angle is the smallest? The smallest angle will always be opposite the smallest side length. So here's my side length of 6. There is my smallest angle. So I'm going to work first angle B. So I have b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine b. Plug in what you know, solve for what you don't know. I know side B is 6. I know A is 9 plus 14 squared minus 2 times 9 times 14 cosine B. I don't know what B is. So now I got to get B by itself. So this part right here has to get isolated. I have to move the 9 and the 14. Be really careful. This 2 right here, the 9 and the 14 are being multiplied by cosine, so you cannot combine all these numbers together and then move them over. You have to move them separately. So the easiest way is move the 9 squared, move the 14 squared first. So I move the 9 squared, I move the 14 squared over. Use your calculator, and that's going to be negative 241 equals negative 2 times 9 times 14 is going to be negative 252, and I did that earlier. Cosine B. Divide by negative 252, divide by negative 252, and then you get 241 over 252 equals cosine B. Then what you have to do is do inverses. So with the calculator, you go second cosine 241 divided by 252. Missed the 2 there, 252. Close that, hit enter, and I get an angle of 16.99 or 17. So B equals 17. And once you have that angle, once you've done law of cosines once, we know that's 17. Now we can do law of sines, and I'll let you go back and refer to how that is. Okay, I want to get to this one here, and this will be the last example we're going to talk about today. This is probably the hardest one on here. It says a parrot looks down at a lion at an angle of depression of 40 degrees. The parrot sees the lion's prey directly behind the lion at an angle of depression of 57 degrees. If the parrot is 27 feet up in the tree, how far is the lion away from the prey? What we're looking for is this right here. Here's my parrot way up here. It looks down at 40 degrees. There's the lion right there. Because 40-degree angle of depression from a horizontal line, I look down 40 degrees, there's the lion. I look down a degree of 47 degrees, and then there is the lion's prey. We'll call it PR for prey. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out this distance right here, but I also know that this length over here is 27. Okay? So what you can do is you can draw some straight lines here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this out, and I'm going to draw this going straight up. And if that's the case, I know that this angle right here is 90, and this angle right here is 40, which is going to make this angle 50 because it has to add up to 180. I also know that this small angle right here is going to be 7 degrees because 40 is this much, 7 is going to be this much. If this is a right angle here, then this angle right here is going to be 40 degrees, and that's 47 and 40, which is going to make this 133 degrees. Now, why is all that important is because we have to figure out a side of a triangle that is not a right triangle, which is very, very important to this problem. So what do? We need to figure out this distance or this distance over here, one of these two hypotenuses. I'm going to figure out the h just because that's the one that I want to do. How do you do that? This is a right triangle up here, so I can use basic trig. Pick either the 40-degree angle or the 50-degree angle. I'm going to use 40. From the 40-degree angle, I know that this is 27 because it's 27 over here, so I'm going to do opposite hypotenuse. So I do sine of 40 degrees equals 27 over h. Cross multiply and solve. I'm going to get h equals 27 over sine 40. Use the calculator. So I do 27 divided by sine of 40. And I hit enter. And I get 42.004. 42 is good enough. H equals 42. Now, once I know that this is 42, I can use law of sines to figure out this distance here. So I'm going to do 42 over sine 133 equals x over sine 7. Cross multiply and solve. I'm going to get x equals 42 sine 7 over sine of 133. And then use the calculator to calculate that. It'll be 42 sine 7 divided by sine 133. Hit enter, and you get 6.99, or x equals 7 feet. And that's it for today.